I'm George from SoMe Academy, and today we're going to look at how we're going to support our child when doing the Dogs and Birds course. So what we have with us today is everything which comes with the course. So we have a yellow book, we have a blue book, we have a music map which opens up like this, and we also have tiles. So this is all we're going to need to start playing almost straight away. But first, we have to learn all the small, simple rules we're going to use when playing everything in this book. So when starting out with these lessons, we have to tell the difference between our right hand and our left hand. And all we're going to do is use two different colours. So in our lessons, we like to call our right hand our red hand and our left hand our blue hand. So it's very easy to differentiate the differences. And what you can do at home is you can either mark each hand with either a red pen and a blue pen. You can get a red elastic band and a blue elastic band. There's no right or wrong, but as long as the child understands there's a difference between reddy right and bluey left, it's going to be easy going forward. So what I like to do, we can start off with a really simple game. We don't have to use any technique at the moment. We can just get the child to have their hands like this, marked as well, and you can just go, what's your red hand? And they'll just put their red hand down. Now don't worry that they're hitting the piano like this. It doesn't matter about sound at the moment. This is a little game so we can really understand the difference. So if you say red, red goes down. We say blue, blue goes down. And if you want to be a little bit extra clever, we can say both hands go down. So that's something, it should be picked up quite fast, but don't worry too much if they're not getting it straight away. This is something which will be really developed as every lesson goes past. So what are we going to do with our red hand and our blue hand? Well, we need to use a technique, and in our lessons we call this owl's eyes. So what we do is we take our hands, we're going to do big old glasses like this, can you see like that? And what we want is our hand to be about positioned like this. So we're going to hit the piano right at the tips of our fingers like this. What's really important though, don't want to see hands like this. You've got to have hands like this because these are these big old eyelashes, and that's why we call them owl's eyes. So the reason we're going to be doing this we'll explain later, but for now what we can do is get our children to get our hands like this, and we can start just pressing it. So notice we keep this really circular. We don't want pointed fingers like this. We want big circle hands like this. And what we're going to do, very similar to what we started off with, we're just going to start pressing the piano. So can you see all I'm doing? Right, so this is another thing which shouldn't take too long to understand, but if it does take a little bit longer, don't worry about it. Patience is a virtue when it comes to this. So we're going to get our owl's eyes like this, anywhere, it doesn't matter. So, we've got our owl's eyes, we've got our red hand and blue hand, so we're almost ready to go and make some noises on the piano, but first, we're going to have to understand what all these keys here mean. So what we like to do, especially in this course, we're going to just start off with two animals. And believe it or not, it is actually going to be the dog and the bird. Can we see that? We should all have this. We've got dog there and bird there. So all we're going to do is work out where dog lives at first. Now this is really easy. If you can see here, I've got all my keys here. We've got all these black notes. And the reason the dog is a perfect one, because dog has two walls, and that is dog's house. Now this is quite easy to find. Another game we like doing in our classes is getting the child to find every dog. So we can go from the bottom, which is down here, so we can go dog, 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 dog. So here, you can just go find us the dog. It doesn't matter if it's a low one or a high one. So here, I'm just gonna slip my dog right here like that. So that shouldn't be too hard, and you can have, if you want, a whole lesson trying to find where all the dogs are, and it's really important to try and keep this information stuck in our heads because this is going to be something you do every single lesson. You want to ask the child, where does dog live? If they can do it from bottom to top, they're on a winning course, so don't you worry. So we have dog, where it lives. So now we actually have to find bird on the keyboard. Now this is quite easy, and there isn't a right and wrong way of doing this, but how we like to do it in our lessons is say bird is just a skip down from dog. Now I've used a term there, skip. Now if you think about it in a real term situation, we're going to skip. You wouldn't step down, you would skip down. We're going to skip a whole key here. So here's D, and we skip down. Or another way we can do it in our lessons is it's our dog's neighbour is neighbour, all right? So here's dog, it's not a step, but it's a skip down. So we're gonna put bird there. Now this is another thing, you can spend quite a long time trying to really drill this information in. Sometimes a skip down is gonna work, sometimes a neighbour's gonna work. Now, sometimes some children will struggle to remember this, and you can use one method I like to use when they're struggling. We can throw something like a goose into here. Now, I wouldn't say do this, only do this if your child is struggling. So here's a goose here. Now, goose lives in the free house here. So sometimes if a child's struggling, you can put goose here and go, so dog has 2 walls and goose has 3 walls. I wouldn't say try this method straight away, but you can if the child is getting a bit confused. But for now, let's just use our dog, and it's its neighbour's neighbour to be bird. So the next thing, before we can go make some beautiful music on the piano, we're going to actually have to understand what these musical notes in the book mean. Because if you open up, let's just look any page, it doesn't really matter. We've got all the animals here, but then we have these musical notes. Some of them are black with a tail, and some of them are white with a tail, and even some are just a big white circle note without any tails like this. So luckily, this fantastic book, at the back, there's all the information we need. So let's have a little look here. We have some cars, we have some big cars, and we have a very, very big bus. Now, this might sound a bit confusing why I'm talking about cars, very, very big buses, but lucky for you, these are the sounds what the notes represent. So I'll give you an example, and if you can see here, we've got car, 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 car. So if you take that sound and we replicate it on the piano, so here we're just going to play car, 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 car. Nothing too hard then. You notice my note represents the sound of the word, so this is going to be car. Now if we look at the next piece, the white note with a tail, this is a big car. So what we're going to do, we're going to hold it down for the duration of that word. So I'll give you an example. It's big car, right? So the difference between the black note and the white note is it's 2 beats. So we've got big car, and the black note is just car, right? Now the last one, we got this big circle note at the end, and this is a very, very big bus. Believe it or not, that's 4 beats. And when you play it, it's quite easy to do. So we're going to hold it down for the whole word, so it's very, very big bus, okay? So this is something, once again, you can spend a lot of time on trying to get this down and perfect. But what I would do as a start, you don't even have to use owl eyes to get this. We can just use a thing called drumming hands. So what we're going to do, from beginning to end, I'm going to try and play every single rhythm with just my drumming hands or tapping hands. It doesn't matter what you call it. So see, I've got my hands down here, and I'm going to do it from here to here. Notice this bit here is going to mix them up a little. So both hands as well, it doesn't really matter. So we're going to do car, 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 big car, big car, 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 big car, very, very big bus. Right? So one thing you might have noticed when I was playing that, I was taking everything very, very slow. We don't want to do more than 1 beat a second. So that's like 60 BPM if you're a bit more musical. We don't want to go super fast. We want to make sure that all these rhythms and this tempo is really solidified, okay? So you're not going to be doing that by going super fast. We want to make sure it's nice and slow. The child understands it. And most importantly, they're taking in this information, okay? So, as I say, once they get used to the tapping hands, we can start going with the owl's eyes. So that shouldn't be too hard. If you get any sort of confusion, just refer back, and luckily, it's a car, it's a big car, or it's a very, very big bus. So for the more musical parents, you'll notice that a car, which is 1 beat, is a crotchet. We've got the big car, which is 2 beats, and there's our minute. And then our very, very big bus, which is 4 beats, is our semi-brief. So now what we're going to do, with all that information we've just spoke about, we're going to try and put it all together and play the first piece of music in our Dogs and Birds book. So if you'll notice, the first piece is called Playground. All we're using is the 2 animals, and we're not even using all the rhythms we've just learned. We're only going to use 2. We're going to use car and big car. One thing I want to point out before we play this, each note has a tail. One goes up, one goes down, and that represents which hands we're going to use. So if the tail goes up, we're going to use our red hand. If the tail goes down, we're going to use our blue hand. So it helps the child understand where they're putting their hands. So what we're going to do, we're going to set up, we're going to sit nicely on the stool. We're going to get our owl's eyes out like this. We're going to place them over the 2 animals. So here we've got dog and we've got bird. Now we're going to play this nice and slowly. Don't worry too much about any mistakes. It isn't about getting this perfect. It's about giving it your best shot. One important thing, before we play this, we have to sing everything we do. If the child is a bit coy about singing, a bit shy, I want you to sing with this piece of music. And then hopefully, as the child gets more confident, they're going to start singing too. So I'll just give you an example. So from here, we're going to play this to here. Nice and slowly. So it's dog, dog, bird, bird, dog, dog, bird, 2. Dog, dog, bird, bird, dog, dog, bird. So one thing you might have noticed, every time I played the white note, I said 2 after it, and that's us feeling the second beat, which big car has. So you can either say big car while you're playing it, or you can count for beats. There's not really a wrong way of doing it. But I would say do this so the child really understands that those white notes here are going to be 2 beats, and they're going to hold their hands down. I'll just give you one more example of the next piece, okay? So we're just going to play this through, and once again when we get to these white notes we're going to hold it down for 2, but really make sure the child is doing everything we've done so far and try and coax out that singing, because it's going to sound absolutely fantastic. So from here, by the lake. Dog, 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 2. Bird, 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 2. Dog, bird, dog, dog, bird, 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 2. And that is basically all we need to do to start progressing through book 1.